Hi, SheLovelies. My name is Leah Abraham, and I'm the editor-in-chief of SheLoves magazine. And I'm really excited to share with you a conversation that I had with a young artist named Andrea Price. She's an eclectic artist who intersects social justice with her art. And for someone who has no idea how to create anything with my hands, I was just blown away, not only by the art that she creates, but also by her story and how she uses art as a form of resistance and as a way of sowing hope. I'm really excited to share this interview with you. And as you listen to this, to her story and her thoughts, I hope you reflect on how we can turn our swords into plowshares, how we can turn instruments of oppression into instruments of peace. I think listening to her story and hearing her explain one of her art pieces inspired me to rethink how I was actively hoping during the season. I don't want to give much away because I think you should just hear her story and her heart straight from her. But I hope this conversation blesses you and it inspires you, and that it reminds you that the seeds of hope are within grasp. And it's not far away, because that's what she reminded me during this conversation. So enjoy and give Andrea all the support and love that you can. All right, enjoy.
As Leah said, my name is Andrea Price, and I just graduated with a bachelor's in fine arts from the University of Toledo. And a lot of my work is focused on social justice. I kind of fell in love with it out of, I guess, in a place of frustration, and also just where we are with the times that we're in. And although we've made progress, there's still a lot more progress to be made. And so that's just a little bit about me. Very small piece of it.
I'm curious to know, as an artist, how does your art and your work as an artist intersect with your personal journey of decolonization?
Well, I think they intersect, or the place that they began to intersect was I was actually sitting in an art history class, and we were talking about all of these different people that are considered masters of art history, and painters and sculptors and the people that we look up to when it comes to drawing anatomy and perspective and all of these different things that we talk about. But there was a lack of people of color as artists being talked about. And when people of color were being brought up, there were terms like the noble savage, and they were showing slaves in like a manner in which was supposed to be beautiful, but it was through the eyes of the person that was colonizing them. And my heart literally broke, and I got angry, because why is so much of the esteem that we hold in art attached to European views of what art should look like? And that really began my my journey to decolonize, to think about, okay, how can we create art that involves everyone, where I see myself in a piece of art, where other people of color can see themselves and know that they're beautiful, and it's not through the perspective of our white counterparts. So,
wow, I know exactly what that realization, that everything, like beauty standards and what is considered art and beautiful and acceptable, is just dictated by European standards. Oh gosh. Do you remember what it was like, what you were feeling as you were like going through the curriculum and
if there was a breaking point at all?
I think I was really shocked. And I know my professor saw the look on my face because she kept making disclaimers as she was talking about everything. She was like, the noble savage is the term that they're using for indigenous people native to America. And I was just like, the fact that you feel the need to make disclaimers as you're going throughout this lesson just shows how much work we need to do. Because if the only person, I really get frustrated at this because even throughout my whole educational experience, I think one thing that gets brought up so often is Kehinde Wiley. And I love Kehinde Wiley, but he is not the only person of color that is creating art about people of color. And the fact that we have to talk about somebody that's contemporary is insane because there's so much history and there's so many different cultures that we're not tapping into and the art that they created that's equally beautiful that we're not seeing because of the people that are writing our art history books.
Yeah. Did your art look different after your college experience and before your college experience?
Yes, they look completely different.
Yeah.
I didn't go into art school thinking that I was going to create work about social justice. That was not my intent. I knew that it was an area that I had really strong affinity for and that I had skill in, I had the ability to learn about, so I went to school for it, but my intent was never to go into social justice. My original thing was just to talk about themes that were interesting to me, things that I could relate to. Some of my earlier work in school had to do with, I have a mother who's a breast cancer survivor. And so talking about the journey from the point that you are diagnosed until you are in remission again, and all the emotional roller coaster and support that's necessary for that. So I don't think I ever was light in the things that I was interested in, but I think a major thing that even attracted me to art was the beauty of the human body. So I never intended for it to go as far as it did. Yeah, but I can't imagine not doing it now.
Yeah.
I could go back if I wanted to.
I love that. Yeah, that's a strong force, right? Like the work can be hard, but you can't stop it. Like you're at that point where this is a matter of each breath you take and you have to make it count, right?
And I think it's just really interesting because one of the later classes that I took of art history, we started talking about the ideas of contemporary art, and that in contemporary art, there are different ways that people view themselves, and it's attached to identity. And I really was thinking about it and grappling with it because I'm like, I don't know if I could create art outside of being a Black woman, because that's the identity that I am given in society. When someone sees me, the first thing you notice is the fact that I'm a Black woman. And then you see all the other things that happen by having actual interactions with me. But in a way, I don't think I was able to choose my identity in ways that other people are able to.
Wow. Who are the artists that helped you? I'm assuming there was that process as you were going to college and like you're understanding sort of the colonized curriculum and syllabus that's been taught for generations, and as you were being awakened to all of that, I'm curious, who are the artists who helped you imagine another way? Like, there is another world, like there are other options, there are other standards. Like, who are those artists that sort of paved the way and inspired you?
I One of my first interactions was with a beautiful artist by the name of Carrie Mae Weems, and she's a photographer, and she's a Black woman, and she's absolutely amazing. And I dove into her work, and although it's photography, which was something I was interested in at the time, it has so many implications for the directions that I was going, because she's so very articulate in the way that she talks about social justice, very intentional in the ways that she approaches a subject. There's some of it is very controversial because of the level of the depth of the topics that she's going into, like some of them being slavery, and the fact that some of the earlier photographers who took pictures of slaves without their permission, of course, because they were slaves. And she wrote over the top of these images, and it's absolutely beautiful. I recommend you guys check her out. She's absolutely amazing.
Wow.
Just hearing her, I not only dove into her work and why she creates art, but listening to even interviews that she gave about not wanting to be boxed into just a Black woman making art about Black people, that she was interested in more than that, that she didn't want to be inside of that box, and therefore refused to be inside of it, and created work. She creates work about all types of things. So I love her. And she also is not only into photography, but works in a lot of other medium, which I think I can relate to, because I am an eclectic artist my own self.
We've talked about this before, about how resistance requires hope.
Yes.
But dude, there are some days that I can't find it, especially these days, if I'm honest. Like, I'm really struggling to like have hope be the motivator. What about for you?
I think there are days and or I should say moments,
Yeah.
hours, in which I'm like, wow, the world is really in the position it's in. It's really this crazy. There are all these things happening, and people are still not addressing the structures that are existing in our world that are making these things happen. It's not isolated situations, it's a system.
Yeah.
And some days I'm really frustrated, and I just like blurt out everything that comes to my head. Some days I write everything down, and I get my frustration out that way. Sometimes I just go into a piece of work, and that's the way that I get out my frustration, anger, sadness. And some days I just do nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's necessary sometimes.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I've been grappling with is my hopefulness lately. Sometimes I'm like, am I naive to feel like there is hope? And maybe being naive is important to be able to move forward in this work. I don't know.
Yeah.
All things I'm contemplating.
Okay, I'm also dying to talk to you about the piece of work that's behind you. Because, yeah, tell us about it, because I love it. It says this is art, not my history.
It says this is not my art history.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
And the birth of this humongous piece that fills a full wall was in, I guess I was just really frustrated in the moment of the things that we were talking about, of art history being so European, and the fact that there were other people across the world that were creating the same type of art to the same extent, to the same level of beauty, to the same level of correctness as Europeans, but those are the only people that we talk about. And I had an assignment and I was being anti. And so we had to create something out of a book. And I was just like, I don't want to use a book and I just want to crochet. So, and I was told no. So I jumped into thinking about the paintings specifically of people that we hold to the esteem of being masters of art history. And I decided that I was going to cut those pieces apart and make paper beads out of them and create a beauty that I wanted to see. So in a lot of these paintings, they are of white men and women. And beyond that, there are levels of like beauty standards that are being portrayed in them. And then there's another layer of the way that women's bodies are being sexualized and all of these different things that are occurring in art history. And the stilling of different cultures to even create the paintings that are being created. And I was frustrated, so I decided to cut them up and make beads out of them. And then I decided that I was going to spell out, this is not my art history. And it just grew from there. It turned into a large piece. And I think this piece is so important to me because it was the moment that I truly found my voice as an artist. I think I had grappled so long with about not fulfilling the trope, the idea of the angry Black woman, and what is too soft a way to talk about art, social justice, and what is too hard of a way to talk about social justice. How do you make it palatable? All of these things that were being presented to me, because they're real questions, they're real things that are going to occur when you're talking about something that has so much, it's triggering because it's the challenging of the way that things have always been. And when you're doing that, there are very specific ways in which you feel, I think when you challenge something that is so powerful, sometimes you can get intimidated by it. It's easy to be intimidated by it. And at this point of making this piece, I decided I no longer cared what people thought. I was going to make art and resist the ways in the ways that I felt was necessary, in the ways that meant something to me. And who cares what other people think about it? Like, I hope you enjoy it. I hope that you can search your heart and see this piece and think, is art history really completely Eurocentric? Is what I've been taught from a very young age very Eurocentric? And why is that? Why are we not talking about all of the indigenous cultures that create beautiful things that we like to label as savage, as lesser than, but not understanding the level of intelligence it takes to create something because they're doing it with meaning. They didn't create something with a humongous head and a small body just to do it. There are intentional reasons why they did it the way that they did it. So, yeah.
It took a lot to not like scream and cheer for you as you were saying that story, because I love it. Wow, that is powerful. Like I'm really ramped up right now. Okay, I'm curious. What is the art history that you want to create right now for the next generation? Like when they go back, like what is the history and the legacy you want to leave?
I believe it doesn't just start with me. So I feel like the art history books should portray all of the different cultures that exist, because they're all beautiful and they're all unique. And in order for people to see themselves, there's so much diversity in the world. So if you're only showing one side of what art can look like, and that there are only specific ways in which each culture can function, what are we doing? We're not teaching our children the necessary lessons of the possibilities that there are, of the beauty that exists in the world. And so I think it starts with showing the true reality of our history, that it doesn't just exist around white, European, British, Spanish forms of art. Like, I was mind boggled when I found out that there were sculptures that were created anatomically correctly in Africa that would have occurred shortly before the time of like Leonardo da Vinci and all of the people that we hold to esteem of being those anatomically correct human beings. Anyway, but these are the things that we need to be teaching our children, because it's all necessary. But I think I want to be part of a history that shows the true diversity and the true beauty that exists in the world, so people that can see themselves. I think that's so important, to be able to see yourself in a piece of art, to see someone that looks like you, that's brown skin or light skin or dark skin, all of these things, to be able to see that diversity is something beautiful. And even if it's not your culture, to be able to learn about something that's outside of your culture is, what's more amazing than that? If we're trying to create well-rounded humans that that care about more than just themselves or can see beyond themselves, why not show them themselves and other people?
Yes, 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 yes. You're getting, I love this. You are filling my spirit right now just by your words and your insight and your wisdom. Oh gosh, I just hearing you explain more about that piece of art has changed the way I'm seeing it, because I saw it when you first turned your screen on and I was like so intrigued, but now when I see it, like I see you standing up and I see a woman rising and learning, like planting her feet firm on the ground and saying, I'm not going to shrink anymore. I can't shrink to those oppressive forces, and I need to find my own voice, my own place. And like the more I see it, the more I see you and your story in that.
That's beautiful. That's the hope. That's the great hope. But yeah, I looking at it as a whole piece, I think it was one of the first pieces that I didn't critique heavily afterwards. And I'm very hard on myself when it comes to my art. But knowing that some of the things that people have about just women creating pieces of art and it being considered craft instead of actual art. What is fine art? What is crafted things? And being in that space and not caring. And this is fine art. This is beauty. This is something that I created with my hands. And because I am a Black woman and creating art, it's justified. It doesn't matter what you feel like art should be or should exist as. And even the beauty in not being perfect the way the words are arranged, that it's legible. That's the important part.
Wow, it feels like an honor just to witness it and to hear that story. And wow, thank you so much for just giving us a glimpse into your spirit and your art and your process.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah, you're just fantastic and fabulous, and I'm obsessed with you and your art. We'll have all of Andrea's information below, so please go check her out and follow her on social media, and support her. Any last words that you want to share, or a blessing for the young artists, especially like women of color who are pursuing art?
I think specifically in regards to creative resistance, just realizing that creativity exists on a lot of different levels. You can create art like I created, but there are so many other ways to resist. It exists it could exist in the way that you do your hair, that just shows who you are, specifically talking to women of color. But there are so many ways to be creative, because I mean, I know that so many people will say, well, I'm not creative. There are so many different ways to be creative. It just means you think differently about something, think in a way that nobody's thought about it before, or maybe they have and you just have a different perspective. That is beauty. And if we can all resist in some way, what would the world look like? It could be awesome.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. And please, again, go follow and support Andrea, because as you can tell, she is fantastic. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.